To the outrage of people who like old movies, the New York Times journalist Rick Rojas tweeted this the other day. I broke a long-standing rule of mine to not watch movies made before 1975 so I could finally see Citizen Kane. It taught me a valuable lesson. These rules exist for a reason. It feels like I'm looking at hieroglyphics. I'm sure there was a time when a lot of people got it and enjoyed it, but it's not exactly entertaining to me. People responded with lists of the great films pre-1975, but I think my reaction was more in sorrow than in anger. Fair enough, I can't force people to like the same things I like, and I wouldn't expect them to. But here's the difference. I don't particularly like Victorian literature. I don't read it. I find Charles Dickens very boring. I quite like the more fun stuff like Arthur Conan Doyle, but I don't go online and say, oh, that Charles Dickens, he's really boring, isn't he? You can't learn anything from him. That would just be parading my ignorance before the world. If Mr. Rojas doesn't want to watch some of the great works of art, well, that's his loss. But here's the thing. I've been a journalist for 30 years, and part of what makes a good journalist is curiosity. You want to know what makes people tick. You're interested in the culture that surrounds you and other cultures as well. And part of the fascination for me personally of old films is that they offer a glimpse into the past and show you not only how it was, but how our society developed. So the same evening that this tweet was annoying people, I just happened to watch a 1950 film noir that was on Amazon Prime called Woman on the Run. It's not going to go down in history as one of the all-time great films, and yet it transported me back to post-war San Francisco. And at the same time I was picking up all sorts of subliminal messages about what it was like to live in that time. For instance, what it was like to be a Chinese immigrant at around the time that Mao Zedong was having his communist revolution. Also what it was like to be a sassy woman, like the title character played by Anne Sheridan. What was it like for her living in a man's world, a patriarchal world?
Where does he generally go when he's not at home?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Has he any relatives in this area?
No.
Who are his friends?
I don't know his friends. The dog is our only mutual friend.
And apart from anything else, it's a work of art. The black and white street scenes of San Francisco and of the fairground are beautiful. So that's an old film I watched pretty much at random. And like I was saying about journalists being interested in people, if you watch an old film, you see, just as you would if you read Dickens or read Chaucer from 500 years ago, you'd see that fundamentally people don't change, and that to me is fascinating. It's a lesson from one of my English teachers that stuck with me, reading a passage from The Miller's Tale and saying, well, we all know people like that, don't we? The other thing that irritated me about Mr. Rojas's tweet was the assumption that we've reached this peak of enlightenment and people in the present day know it all, certainly compared to our predecessors, our ancestors. We're not at the pinnacle of culture that makes all works of art redundant and somehow hackneyed, out of date. However, a film like Citizen Kane, which I have to admit isn't a particular favourite of mine, is a pinnacle because it was groundbreaking. It pioneered techniques that changed the whole look of film, changed the grammar of film. And if in any way it seems hackneyed to the modern viewer, well, that's because people have been imitating it to death. People far less talented than Orson Welles and his cinematographer Greg Toland. The same is true of Psycho, the same is true of The French Connection, the same is true of a whole string of films that I could mention. So, Mr. Rojas, good luck to you at the New York Times. I'm sure you have many good qualities, but I hope I've explained why you've pissed a lot of people off. As for everyone else, I'd love to know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment. You know the drill.